For some reason it's not. But I have to have the speakers.
Hij was nog steeds gewoon ladende, de laatste 3-4 minuten.
Are you live?
Yeah, that's a little bit messed up. I get confirmation that you can all hear me because you all waited 15-20 minutes since we have identified and solved the problem we had. We have had some technical difficulties, and to say the least, a little bit of a technical fuck up basically. But you know, sometimes the technology isn't working in your favor. I think David Greco can safely say that, as his wheel has been broken down. But getting confirmation here, are we completely live again, Jeroen? We are completely live again. Well, that's good. Assuming that we are live, well, not really much has changed on the track, apart from the fact that John Eric Saxon has had a black screen as well, it seems. So a lot of black screens here in Singapore, and he parked his car right into the barriers and he had to retire the car. Same for Norbert Leitner, unfortunately. And I think we have seen the crash of Sam Boulegbassi. Unfortunately enough though, only 11 drivers remain in this race, but the battles are really hard. Peter Briljak is fighting every inch of the way with Morgan Morant, and at the moment Masciuli is fighting with Morgan as well. Morgan on the inside now, and having the better of them both. And now it's time for Peter Briljak to have a response. He's not really in a position to make a response right now. So Francesco Bigazzi still leading this race. Mike Partington is in P2, Cuba Brzezinski is in P3, Morgan Morant P4, Eros Masciuli P5, Peter Briljak P6, and an outstanding performance at the moment from Mohamed Patel in P7. Jordan Simmons is behind that, P8, Johnny Simon P9, Thomas Sadlerly P11, and Dewald Nel in Thomas Sadlerly in P10 and Dewald Nel P11. So a hectic race for the few that have remained in battle. Mohamed Patel having started obviously behind everyone else as last, driving on a steady 7th place right now. And at the Grand Prix, where his rival Peter Briljak is having some difficulties like Mercedes had as well in the real Formula 1. But Peter is just, you know, flying into his rhythm, but unfortunately for him, he cannot get by and past Eros Masciuli, who's driving a superb race as well, it has to be said. But Morgan is past that and is now into the DRS range of Cuba Brzezinski. So, it's getting really tight here. So I just hear that we are live on the Pro video. We're live on the Pro broadcast. Hope you can all give your friends the link required to get back on track with us. Certainly is something that never happened in the past couple of years, but you know, sometimes shit happens. So I believe Jeroen is now our cameraman. Are you Jeroen? Jeroen is our cameraman, that's nice here. Can the crowd still hear you? Ah, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, then you just have to do with me. Don't pack your stuff just yet. Morgan Morant, hopefully we're on board with him. He's showing very promising driving lines up to Cuba Brzezinski. Obviously after that crash he had with Peter Briljak, both of them were getting, had to start all over again. But Morgan is showing promising pace. 29 laps gone out of 61, so we're not even halfway yet. Hopefully we have had all the problems in the past right now. Bugatti still leading this race, 5 seconds, almost 6 seconds clear of Mike Partington, who's doing a fabulous job as well. I mean, with all these retirements, it clearly opens doors to others. Not saying that Bugatti and Partington having an outside field day, but both are, well, both probably didn't expect to be fighting for a win this afternoon. Kuba Brzezinski holding on to P3, but how long can he hold the French force of Morgan Morant off him? That is going to be the question. Morgan tries to dive a little bit, puts pressure on the young Polish guy. Here he goes in the slipstream. Here we might see a dive of Morgan. Kuba is going defensive though. Defensively enough for Morgan to stall it, but he is trying the outside line like Max Verstappen did with the freaking Grosjean there. Not gonna work for Morgan this time though. He's ever so close. He's going in for the dive. Morgan Morant. He pushes Kuba Brzezinski against the wall. That is definitely a driver mistake from the French guy here. And Kuba Brzezinski being victimized with high proportions. Nevertheless, I mean, Morgan just simply dove into the gap. Kuba Brzezinski had no way to steer into the corner, and that was just a little bit too greedy for Morgan. Can't blame him for trying, but that was a little bit too optimistic in my opinion. So he is into the pit right now, just as Mike Partington, and he is stationary quite a bit. He's repairing damage, is Morgan Morant. Gonna fall back through the order, and he is in 10th position right now. Morgan Morant has to start all over again, where he was in front of Peter Brilliard fighting P3 with Kuba Brzezinski. He has now found himself in terrible weather here, and it seems that his car sustained a little bit of extra damage. So not a field day for Morgan, but it was just not meant to be today for him. He drives a steady race, but that last move was just way too opportunistic. And Kuba Brzezinski, I'm sure he can understand the move of Morgan as well, but he doesn't have anything of it. I mean, he has damage, he lost the position, and he lost momentum, he lost confidence, and he lost his entire well, spirit in this race, so to speak. But it is racing. So we're now in lap 31 out of 61, with Francesco Bugatti still leading this race, doing ever so perfect. He is gonna lap the Walt Nel. He is being lapped in lap 31, so hopefully for him it will stay with one lap, but one more retirement and the Walt Nel will actually get a point for this race. Certainly be something. The Walt Nel going out of the way like he should be doing. There you go, that's a good boy. So, Masciuli is still in P2, but 18.5 seconds behind Bugatti, and he can now make life a little bit harder for Peter Brilliard than it already was behind him, since the dirty air is so messed up in this Singapore circuit. You really need every little bit of percent of downforce that you can get. Somebody is blocking your path, literally, then that's going to cost you entry speed, it's going to cost you exit speed, and the only momentum where you can get it back is on the straight in the slipstream. We should also take brake conservation into aspect and into consideration. I mean, if you are constantly into the dirty air, then your brakes are getting, hotter air than they would for in clean air, so the brakes are getting cooled less. If they are getting overheated, things go rapidly downhill. Sensitive instruments, those brakes. You either have them up to temperature and working, or they're overheating and they're rubbish. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Morgan Morant 43 seconds on P10 behind the leaders of this race. I'm sure he can get some places back, but at this moment I think he should be happy with P5 by the looks of it. He is in clear air, but I take my top hat off for Mohammed Patel here, who is doing a fantastic job starting from last of this race just drove and drove in his stints until he drove some more. And he is now in rightful P6, just in front of Gergis. He must ask himself, like, how did that young British Patel do it? Johnny Simon in P8, driving a little bit of an invisible race as well, just as Thomas Satterley. Just getting a visit from Morgan Morant any day soon now. And there's just no stopping Francesco Bigatti here. 18.8 seconds. Took 3 tenths out of Pashalis. And he is going up for a safe margin, so to speak. Kuba Brzezinski with his pit light on. He is in P4 at the moment after that horrible accident that he had with Morgan. Still trying to limit the damage somewhat, and somehow. I'm sure Dewald now is just sitting on top of his chair, thinking, okay, if I have to stay safe and out of the barriers, I might get a point in. And Kuba Brzezinski really struggling under the grip, really twisting and turning the steering wheel left to right and keeping it out of the wall. And there he goes into the pit lane, just as Peter Brilliak is. So those are on the same strategies we can say for the remainder of this race. I think this pit stop will be the second last final. I mean, they would need one more till the end of this race. Brilliak going onto the soft compound, so is Cuba. So no super softs for them. What can Johnny Simon do? Johnny Simon here fighting Peter Brilliak, who's coming out of the pit. At least he parked his car before Cuba. Cuba actually gets overtaken by Morgan Morant coming out of the pit stop, or out of the pit straight. Johnny Simon gets slotted behind Brilliak there. That's good for Brilliak, since he is in clean air now and he can do anything in his power to get back at Mohammed Patel. What a strong performance from a lot of these drivers, especially. Yeah, I heard of him as well, and it's who? The wall now! No! What did you do, you fruitcake? Oh my god, just driving into the wall, basically into the wall. The wall now parked it in the wall. Oh man, that's really messed up. So everyone is gonna have points now. I mean, it doesn't matter if Thomas Satterley is driving in P10 now with DNFs, he still gets 1 point. But I feel so bad for the Waldnell. I mean, having an incidental visit into W3, I believe, I didn't hear him with the permanent seat or whatever, almost gets away with a point. He just needed one guy to crash out of this race in order to get points. And irony is on himself, since he is the guy crashing, giving the point to Satterley. So what a race it has been. 10 competitors remaining in this tumbling, weird, whack doodle race, whatever. I really have no words for it.
Joined your channel.
A lot of drivers getting forced into the wall by black screens. We have had a broadcasting issue with internet speeds, with YouTube being down. The mayhem is complete. You know, it should be Monaco right here, or something where there's always a safety car. Yeah, Singapore actually has a 100% safety car ratio in real life, so unfortunately we never had a safety car. Not even a digital one. Would be pretty awesome, to say the least. So Kuba Brzezinski after the pit stop in P8, a little bit stuck behind Johnny Simon now, but Johnny Simon is on, well, older tires, really old tires compared to Morgan Morant, but Morgan is not driving away from him. And Morgan, his tires are only 3.5 laps old, close to 4 laps. So Johnny Simon had his pit light on, he turned it off, he turned it on again right now.
Timed out.
Let's see if he goes to the pit. How will this race unfold? We have just passed the halfway mark 1 or 2 laps ago. We are in lap 35 out of 61. So 26 laps is still to go here. But Francesco Bigazzi is having his pit light on for this lap. He's already in the next one compared to Morgan and Johnny. So Johnny has his pit light on, but he manages to keep on going. What a field day it can be for Eventa Sim Racing. Scoring a 1-2 would be huge for that team. And not only scoring their first Formula Sim Racing victory here, Jan Kostadinov already had a pole position in Canada, so there was some success. Unfortunately for him, that race didn't went according to plan. He was bad luck Brian in that particular occasion. But yeah, times have changed. Mike Partington now driving his lungs out for the FTS team. And the podium for Christian Smirnov would be well deserved. One of those teams that basically they're like Ferrari, you know. They have been in FSR since the start of it, and that's the only team that are still here after almost 20 years of online racing, with 3-4 years to spare. Nevertheless, Francesco Bigazzi decided enough is enough. He's going into the pit, and I think he will come out of the pit as leader. See, he's jacked up, and well, he's not jacked up, I'm not gonna say it. Holy shit. But he is going out of the pit again. Digital pit crew doing a fantastic steady job as ever. Never make mistakes, never forget a wheel nut or whatever. But yeah, he is back into the lead with 15 laps to go, or sorry, 25 laps to go. He is in the lead with fresh super soft tires, so I assume he will do one more pit stop after this. And Johnny Small, what happened there? Nothing, never mind. Morgan Morant sliding around here. Get a little bit of a replay from that into turn 4, so you can fast forward a little bit to him. Really twitching, almost losing the car. Definitely giving it everything he's got, and he has to. I mean, he has Peter Biljak right in front of him. Not really the least of guys to try and overtake, and definitely not in this circuit. Mike Partington in P3 still steady going. Has a 12-second lead towards Mike Partington, or 11.5 seconds, and is 3 seconds shy of Erwas Mashoudi. So he's closer to gaining a place than losing one. That's nice news for him. But the lead of Bigazzi is just, you know, it's like nothing went wrong for them in the race. Like Eventa is the only team in this race where nothing went wrong in my belief. Hopefully for them they can keep the momentum. Because a 1-2 finish would definitely be pulling a rabbit out of a hat or something. Definitely some sort of a magic trick. Who would have foreseen that? Nevertheless, like I said earlier, we are just a few laps over the halfway point. Still a relatively long race for these guys. Basically, we still have a small pro sprint race to go. I think these drivers will have what, like 110 liters still remaining in their tanks, maybe 100. Definitely high enough. That time start getting ever so smaller though. Cuba Brzezinski now knocking onto the door of Johnny Simon, who still has his pit light on. He's swapping it around a bit. Maybe he is just trying to force Cuba to get a little bit of time loss during his stint. Johnny has every right to do that. I mean, he is in the leading position in front of him. That I wanted to say P6. Cuba is in P7, but really unfortunate for Cuba because if it weren't for that opportunistic mistake from Morgan Moran that was right on this part of the track, then he just would have stayed on. But you can say anything like that, like if Peter Briljak and Morgan didn't collide earlier on, or if this didn't happen, if that didn't happen, whatever. Finally, Cuba Brzezinski is getting released from the terrible drag from Johnny Simon, who was on all tires. He is gone into the pit, so is Morgan Moran. Morgan, who pitted 7 laps earlier, he's really not having his day, but still showing us a spectacle. Better to have a dramatic race than this than Valencia 2011, where there was one complete overtake the entire race. One, and everyone finished the race. No DNFs. Yeah, a lot of drivers now still not comfortably into their own zone. I mean, if Morgan Moran does 7-8 laps on a fresh set of super soft tires, he's really burning them off. Yeah, but with 10 people to go and with everyone in their slot except a few, there's not much action going on except for Mohamed Patel, who's gonna overtake, or at least try to overtake Gergis in a few laps time. Simmons is driving steady as ever. Didn't really have the luck he needed. Didn't get a lot of trouble in this race though. Driving steadily in P6. But the podium is definitely gonna look a little bit different than we are used to. I mean, looking to the gaps, there is still a 10-second gap between Partington and Peter Briljak. 11 seconds even, so if Peter can close that gap within 10 laps or something, or at least got it into half, then the chances of him getting onto the podium are shrinking lap by lap, meter by meter. So Patel now really getting closer to Simmons. He only needs one move. Mohamed Patel is the kind of guy that if he is going to dive you into a corner, you know that you left the door open, because this guy is far away from a reckless driver. Really calculated but fast as well. Fernando Alonso is also really a smart driver that can calculate and do multiple things behind the steering wheel, but in terms of speed he's a little bit less. In my opinion, of course. Not really a top driver. But Mohamed Patel, this would have been the perfect opportunity for him in order to get a little bit back in terms of points for him and the competition he has with Peter Briljak this season. But it seems for the moment, or for the time being though, that Peter Briljak is having the better of them as well. Where Briljak and Patel were dominating earlier races this season, and where Patel actually lost the Chinese Grand Prix in the last lap by blowing up his engine, unfortunately, and unintentionally, of course. A lot of things happened between the two of them, but at the moment it's Peter Briljak leading the championship, well deserved. Didn't make any single mistake this entire season, not that I know of.
User disconnected from your channel.
Let's see if these guys have something more for us in store. I hope so. I'm just gonna ask Jeroen something really quick. Hoe zit het met de viewers, Jeroen? Zijn ze een beetje terug? Oh. Well, nice to see that we have at least some viewers still that were still able to find us during all the mix of this. I mean, in 3 years or 2.5 years of commentary, this is the first time it ever happened to us, and you know, it will happen again someday, but maybe again in 2 or 3 years. So you know, nobody cares. Having said that, it's gonna be an epic finale here, an epic 20 laps remaining here. Francesco Bigazzi, the only guy in lap 41 at this moment, or I should say the 42nd lap here, and he is leading ever so steadily, with almost basically 9 seconds between him and Eros Mashuli, and Mike Partington still behind that, but the gap between Partington and Briak has shrunken a little bit, with only 8.5 seconds remaining in between them. So definitely Peter can close this gap if he continues onward like this. Journey Simulsits is into the pit, which allows Morgan Moran to take P7 again. And with 20 laps to go, I think Journey is going to try this onto the soft compound and just, you know, try and do a dash to the finish line. There's someone behind him, so the two teammates together again. Unlike the Eventa teammates who are first and second, they are 8th and 9th. Brzezinski now in P5, really in fresh air, so to speak. Relatively fresh air. I have no idea how his tire situation is at the moment. Same for Mohamed Patel, since I have a little bit of an off-topic. You might be familiar with an R2. But yeah, things are not really changing at the moment. A lot of people have found their momentum, a lot of people have found their rhythm, and they are just driving on basically a second nature. You're on pure instinct. But, you know, it's never a certainty in racing that you get a victory. We all know those situations in the past in real Formula 1, like Hakkinen blowing up his engine in Catalunya, but even in sim racing here, where I thought earlier on in the pro broadcast that Jeroen Kwekel was going to win a race, then we obviously thought that Jacques Wengler was going to win a race, but then it was the cat out of the hat Adrian Falcon who ran away with a victory. We are going to have a different victor here than we are used to. I'm safe to say that. I mean, either it's Bigazzi or Mashuli, or they crash each other off like Red Bull did in Turkey 2010. That would be something. So no rain for the moment. That would be something as well. Imagine 10 laps on the end of this race where it would just pour the heavens, would, you know, collapse onto the Singapore track, and we would get a complete wet race. That would certainly be something to look at, but look out for. But you know, there's no certainty in that. But if it does happen, then it's basically a chair dance of who is closest to the pit. Because Mohamed Patel is still 29 seconds behind the leaders of the race. He's in P6, so anything can happen with a little bit of rain. But my hopes are not that high anymore of the rain situation. Currently there is no rain prediction for the upcoming hour or so. So we might have to get really lucky. But for today we are a little bit too unlucky. Francesco Bigazzi in lap number 44 out of 61, still going strong, didn't make any mistakes for now, and he cannot allow himself to make one as well. He is having a steady lead, and I think if he keeps it together like he's doing right now, he will have no problem winning this race. The only fact of the matter is that it's not that simple. He still has to remain concentrated. It's a long race. 61 freaking laps of Singapore. Like Jeroen Kwekel said earlier, the track is not really that demanding in terms of corners, and you know, you have a few tricky corners, but then, you know, every circuit has that. But what's really messed up is that you don't have any occasions where you can rest. You don't have high straight. It's just corner after corner, intensity, increasing. It's just one big sector basically, So that's really something. Here we go with Mohammed Patel, who is currently trying to take P5 away from Cuba Brzezinski. Finally closed the gap as well, but now instead of closing the gap, he needs to overtake Cuba. Maybe he can do it right here. I'm sure Cuba is scared like hell. And that's actually not that funny. But yeah, Cuba is defending like his life depends on it. Here goes Mohammed, has to lift now quite dramatically because of the dirty air. Does have the DRS here, but that's not gonna work. Here definitely outbrakes Cuba. Going into this nice first sector. Going back onto the throttle, and here he has to keep the momentum into his car. Take a little bit of a wider entry. And hitting that apex nicely. Will he do it? Will he do it? Nah, there's just not enough space. There's still 1 or 2 car lengths in between them. And that is way too much for Cuba. Ooh, and Mohammed Patel actually outbraking himself there. Or just didn't expect Cuba to brake where he just did. Yeah, talking about long battles, I mean, I'm screaming my lungs out that this is a long race, relatively long race. I remember, and I said that earlier this season, that there once was a guy in Le Mans 24 hours who attempted to drive 24 hours straight. Mind you, he managed 23 hours and I believe 12 minutes before he collapsed with pure exhaustion. But imagine yourself driving 23 hours in a race, It's insane, I mean, after 20 minutes of karting I'm all sweaty, so don't even bother doing Le Mans for a complete 24 hours. So Eros Mashouli is into the pit lane right now, stationary and going back to the super soft compound for the remainder of this race. 16 laps to go for him. Gets overtaken by Peter Brilliak and Cuba Brzezinski and Mohammed Patel. But I believe those guys still have to do one more pit stop in order to get to the end of the race. Morgan Morant pitted in lap 31, he pitted in lap 38, and I would really be surprised if he manages to end the race on the same set of tires where he pitted on and exited the pit stop on lap 38. But yeah, if other guys are doing 12-14 laps with a set of tires and he's doing 7, that's maybe a little bit problematic. And Peter Brilliak now driving on a podium position. I believe he still has to do one more pit stop, or either he will conserve his tires like a boss. But it's gonna be interesting to see. Bugatti ending lap 45, going into lap 46, going into lap 47 now. 15.6 seconds the lead he has built up over my